Don't forget to like the video. If you like what I'm about, give consideration to the subscribing to the channels. Smash the subscribe button, select the all option, click the bell button, select the all option, so that gets you notified when I'm on a live stream like this. This is Say It Like It Is, where we talk about eclectic topics that affect us as a unit of people within the Black community. All right. So yeah, as I say, if you like what I'm about, smash that like button. Okay. And yeah, let's see who is online. If you're watching this as a playback, thank you for doing so. If you can hear me, you can see me, smash the like button, please. Smash that like button. So today's topic, how do we eliminate subjugation within the Black community? All right. How do we eliminate subjugation? So we basically talk about a whole lot of things, you know, when if you look at it from the global context, and particularly if you live in the West like me for now, and if you're looking at all sorts of things going on economically, you know, discrimination, profiling, and all sorts, glass ceiling, every multifaceted type of, you know, neocolonialism weapon aimed at the Black community. We talk about this. We are concerned about ourselves as a unit. We're thinking advance of the next generation. Generations before me have fought and fought and fought. Some of them, of our ancestors, a lot of them lost their lives in the process. You know, here we are talking about the same things. So it's all well and good. We're talking about liberation, how to get better, how to improve ourselves. So I thought, you know, I've got my notepad here. I have a few bullet points that I would love us to, you know, to look into. So how do we eliminate subjugation within the Black community? So if we are talking about, you know, racism, oppression, and all these things, lack of opportunities, structural deprivation, systemic, you know, oppressions and things like that. I think it's absolutely important for us to look inwardly and start to, for one, identify our problems, and then what should run concurrently with that is remedies of fixing ourselves internally, because that's the only way we can then come out to try to then challenge whatever forces are external to our communities that are trying to subjugate us as a unit of people across the African continent, if that makes sense. So my first, without further ado, if you're hearing me, you're seeing me, thank you for your collective eardrums and eyeballs. Don't forget to like the video. If you haven't, don't forget to subscribe, okay? And before I crack on, it's important that I say this, before I crack on with the bullet points. If you are waiting for the outcome of your Ifa divinations, a bunch of people have had their divination outcomes. I'm working tirelessly with the Ifa priests in the background to make sure that by the end of this week, every single person on the waiting list will have been attended to, except if you have questions and stuff. So if you're listening and you're hearing this, so I have a service now. One, I'm a proud practitioner of Ifa, which is an African spirituality emanated predominantly from the Yoruba land, okay, Oduduwa land, Nigeria, Africa to be precise. So why, Phrankleen, you know, did you gravitate towards, if I'm an Ifa initiate and all that, I'm a proud practitioner. It's a way of life for me. It predates the invaders' religion. So that's a topic for another day. And so Ifa allows for Akosejaye predestination checks. If you have a child, even as an adult, if it was never done for you, what were you called to do in this dispensation? Why are you here? Are you an adult wading through the waters of life and then you're confused? Things are not working out for you. You believe there are forces working against you. Ifa divination, Idafa, like they say in Yoruba, would uncover whatever it is spiritually, particularly that's affecting you. It could be from your mother line, father's, bloodline. It could be from people close to you. It could be even based on your own choices or actions, whatever that the universe can identify. It goes as deep as what were you called to do career-wise, business-wise, and things like that. This is why people come to me for divination. So I work with genuine, legitimate, genuine being the objective word, if I praise and stuff. So I take your requests, your questions to them, and I bring you the result. Akosajaye, so many of you have opted for that, which is the predestination check, checking your kadara. What were you called? It downloads everything about you. Normally, in Yoruba land, when a baby is born, within the first 40 days of arriving on this planet, they would do that just to allow the parents or the guardians to have an insight into why that wonderful baby boy or girl was born, what would they become in future. If I would identify what career and business choices is for them that aligns with their ori, their universal data set, as I love to call it. So if that's something that's of interest to you, let me know. You can get in touch with me via email, footchannel1960@gmail.com. Look in the description below. So that's what I'm banging on about, okay? Ifa is a way of life, and that's about that. So yes, how do we eliminate subjugation within the Black community? Point number one, using others as a status. I want to talk about the problems, some of the problems that are put down, using others as a status springboard. So what do I mean? Using others. So I'm looking at this from a diasporan standpoint. So say, for example, you're living here in the UK, and when we talk about oppression, all of these things is happening towards what do you call the Black community, right? So we should also look inwardly at our actions, similar actions within the Black community that mirror the sort of external actions that are affecting us as a people, if that makes sense. So this is using others as a status springboard. And if you look at it from the diaspora point of view, there's a very common thing, which is a romance fraud. And it's a means of a brute emotional manipulation. So what do I mean? So you, take for example, hypothetically speaking, this is very common. People don't like talking about it, but I'll talk about it anyway because I'm fearless. Now, you come from Africa, you come to the UK or to the US, for example, you've traveled, you chose to travel on the wrong visa, you arrived, and then you soon realized that it's a structured society in that regard. They have their immigration rules in place, and then you soon find yourself, sorry, give me a second. You soon find yourself that you're trapped in the shadow of the system. Now, you then think it's a brilliant idea to subjugate people that look like you. So what do I mean? Romance fraud. You might have left a wife and 3 children back in the motherland, Africa, yeah? Then you see an unsuspecting woman, and then you misrepresent, you take advantage of the vulnerability, you proclaim, you profess your love. That's basically misrepresentation fraud, and then you lie to them. You run it to an extent where you get between their legs, they procreate with you, you have a bunch of children. Also, there are women that also do this, okay? You have a bunch of children with them, and then you infiltrate their life emotionally, financially, and all that. And then when you've done all that, over the years, you get your status and all that stuff. Then at some point, they soon realize that, oh, hang on, this person has a whole family in the motherland, Africa, or has a bunch of children and all that stuff. Now, some people will be getting worked up already by hearing me talking about this. So I'm just thinking, and I'm a non-conventional person. I do my best to exist outside the box. So if we are talking about oppression and subjugation, slavery, and all these things, yeah, how is it okay that we, amongst ourselves as black folks, we find a very evil justification for, oh, you've got to use who you've got to use to step up in ranks and to get what you need to get. And then once you get the so-called papers, your green card or whatever, you dump the woman, perhaps, with a couple of kids, and then you jump ship, and then you've so some people even have, like, you do unscrupulously bring the actual wife and children, you bring them through other channel. They will always be in the background whilst you are pretending, to live a true life with an unsuspecting individual. That, I call that emotional manipulation. It's a form of slavery, emotional enslavement, financial drain on them, and you take advantage of them, you violate them, you destroy them emotionally, you destroy them, you drain them financially, you rob them of time. Do you understand? But within the black community, and this is not nationality specific, we justify this behavior as, oh, yeah, as long as you get your papers, yeah, you move on. And there's a pattern of this, and I'm talking within our community now. So when I look at this, I call it status springboard, right? And you run this romance fraud. It's a means of brute emotional manipulation. In fact, I've had these conversations similarly offline in the past, and I had some guys jump at me and say, oh, yeah, if it was you, blah, blah, blah. The if it was you rebuttal is how we tend to discredit the truth because people feel uncomfortable. So how do we then start to get better as a unit of people, if that makes sense? If it was you, well, I've never done that to any woman, so I'm not going to insert myself into that picture. And I understand, whilst I understand, is it fair? Because what we try to do with if it was you argument is we desperately try to find justification for subjecting people that look like me, that look, within our community. It could be you travel from Africa, the African continent, you take advantage of an African American woman. It could be, you could do the same in the UK, in Germany, whatever, right? So we then, amongst ourselves, we desperately try to justify this by what? Emotionally damaging other people, subjugating them, taking advantage of them monetarily, shattering their lives, and like places like America whereby the structure is heavily dependent on credit. You manipulate them so much, you take advantage of their credit, you damage them, you ruin them, you leave them with a bunch of children, and then you try to jump off once you get your green card and stuff. It's a form of slavery. So the point I'm trying to establish here is, how can we then look at ourselves, or then be able to look at external forces and be able to condemn them for subjugating us for donkey years? And it's still going on a daily basis. If we are also using these similar template of destruction amongst ourselves within, it could be a small parks or bigger context of our communities. Think about it. The other time I had this conversation with a bunch of dudes offline, away from YouTube, and it was in a social gathering. This guy got defensive. He hijacked the conversation. I was like, oh, Phrankleen, it's easy to... So I said, no, it's not about finding that conversation easy. It's a conversation. Yes, it's difficult. You might find it infuriating, but do we need to have these conversations? Absolutely. Then I asked him a question. I said, if I started dating your sister and I came into her life, I had no papers and all that. I appeared to be a good guy, and your sister fell in love with me. Your family accepted me and all that. You're cool with me as a good brother-in-law, blah, 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 blah. Your sister gave me my papers and all that stuff, right? And then I get my papers, she's had a couple of kids with me now, two lovely children. And then gets to a point I decided to jump. I understand as adults, relationships end every day, right? People go their separate ways. But imagine how you would feel if you didn't realize that, oh, hang on. So all the while, Phrankleen had wife and children in the background. So all these years, he commodified your sister. He took advantage of her emotionally, financially, violated her from top to bottom, and left her to rot and then disappeared. If you were able to corner Phrankleen, wouldn't you be thinking of ways to carry out retaliatory action? Understandably so. So when I said this, I remember that dude, he couldn't come back with anything else. So all I'm saying is, if amongst ourselves, what we are interested in is, particularly I'm looking at this through the lens of life in the diaspora. There's so many stories. There are so many stories, that people would use, especially when it comes to getting papers, because who is to blame? It's you. You came abroad. There's nothing wrong with if you met someone, oh, let's say, regardless of my journey, if I met someone and they choose to help me, to get my papers and stuff, that's brilliant. But if I'm not being deceptive, or say I have a whole family in the background in Africa and I'm still trying to sustain that relationship with that wife in Africa and the children, even try to use resources from within this relationship to bring in my actual wife and children in the background. There are plenty of people that do that. It's a form of slavery. That's point number one. Point number two, subjugation of brothers and sisters living in the shadow of the system. What do I mean? There are plenty of people within the Black community, for whatever reasons, but if I narrow it down, there are plenty of our people that are living in the shadow of the system with immigration complexities. They might have come abroad with the wrong visas and all that. And they are doing whatever they can to survive, okay? In the shadow of the system that I mean, they can't in the front end live normally. They don't have the right immigration documents, valid documentation to their names. They don't have valid, bank accounts, things like driver's license and all that stuff to their names. Because why? They don't have the right immigration papers. I'm sure you get that. Now, what's very common, quite prevalent within the Black community, is the subjugation of our brothers and sisters, weaponizing your position. For those of you that would come forward and say, yeah, you see somebody, you know that they are vulnerable, oh my God, new way, and then you present yourself like you want to help them, but deep down inside, the plan is for you to enslave them, take advantage of their vulnerability, of their situation. Wouldn't it be better if they were crying for help, they look in your direction, and then you tell them that, nope, I'm afraid I can't help you. But what tends to happen is folks would look in their direction, and you would take advantage of them. Usually you weaponize your position. And how do you do that? You take advantage, especially if you look at females, women who don't have papers. It's very common. I've heard tons of stories, okay, through my channel, offline, over the years, right? Taking advantage of vulnerability for sexual gratification, right? This taking advantage of them sexually is women who haven't got papers. Some of them might more than likely be struggling with accommodation, and because of the complexity that comes with living in the shadow of the system, they can't even rent a place directly, because if any landlord is asking them for paperwork and IDs, they don't have anything proper to put forward. And what tends to happen is a lot of them become victims of sexual abuse. Somebody said they bring these on themselves in the context of immigration violation and coming here. Yes, I would say that if somebody is in the shadow of the system, that's not even gender specific. If it's a dude who hasn't got papers, are we going to say honestly that they brought these on themselves? Yes, but should you use that, weaponize their situation against them to take advantage of them sexually, manipulate them, take advantage of their vulnerability? Is that what we're saying here? Do you understand me? Of course. But I'm looking inwardly. This is quite prevalent in our community. If you have a young lady, might even be a middle-aged woman, hasn't got papers, struggling. Some even struggle to pay for a room in a shared house. Fact. If they are struggling to get a job and all that stuff, some of the forms of slavery and subjugation that's very, very common in our community is people will come forward and say, oh, yeah, you need papers. I'm going to get you documents to work. So um, there's always a psychological chain attached, to that process. So they would say, oh yeah, we're gonna find you papers to work with. I'll get you a bank account or blah 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 blah. Do you understand? Now they would say that, and then they start making demands of, need to get between your legs, and they'll make it difficult for them. And a lot of these people, when they are knee deep in these processes, to come out of that complexity is always difficult. I'm talking within our communities now. Men plowing through women because, for one major reason, these ladies or these women haven't got papers, and you take advantage of them. In fact, you create complexities around situations to show like you're trying to help them, and it's not really help. You're just using them for gratification. There's another one where they would say, oh yeah, they'll give you bank accounts and this and this and this. Now, I'm not here advocating for anybody to give anybody their identities to adopt unlawfully and stuff. Definitely not. Whatever you do, you have a full responsibility for your own choices and decisions as an adult. But what I'm saying is, they would give them their IDs, they would give them their bank accounts, but they wouldn't give them the bank cards. So if somebody works and earns £1,600 after tax, they have to come to you to collect their cash. And what tends to happen is, sometimes when they say they are helping these people in the shadow of the system, they would say, hey man, you're going to give me £300 a month for helping you with this ID, which we know is unlawful, right? The person who is in the shadow of the system hasn't got a choice. Okay, I'll give you £300 every time I get my earnings. So if they earn £1,600 after tax, they know that you're going to take £300 off that money, and they're left with 1,300, right? But what then happens is, these people then apply subjugation, because they know that these people are trapped in the shadow of the system, and they might turn around and deduct £600. They might turn around and deduct £700. There was a lady that emailed me not too long ago and said she's frustrated. She's in the shadow of the system. The woman that helped her with identity, documents, she's working for some care agency, said the initial agreement was the woman would take £350 a month, but the woman then turned around and started enslaving her, and would take £600, sometimes £700. So the one that happened at the time of the email was, she took this woman with overtime and everything. She earned £2,160 after tax, and the woman took £900 from that money. And, you can imagine how that would be so emotionally devastating. Now, from an ethical standpoint, that's just blatantly evil. And there's no way you can try to, justify or sugarcoat this. It's a form of slavery. So I'm talking in the wider context. Just think about this within the black community. You know, you claim to be helping yourselves, but amongst ourselves, we are practicing slavery. We're subjugating ourselves on a daily basis, destroying ourselves, taking advantage, and wallowing in evilness. That's exactly my point. So there's also another bullet point on under that, which is which is very, very common, which is the snitching on others, to especially when it comes around immigration complexity. And it's very, very common, sadly, whereby the moment people know your profile, people know your status, that you haven't got papers, like we call it, and it's sad. In fact, I've seen that countless number of times within the Nigerian community, out of resentment, out of vindictiveness, out of spite. People will snitch and throw their fellow brothers and sisters under the negative spotlight of the immigration authorities. Now, let me clarify something. Again, I'm not advocating for anybody. This, in fact, for those that have been watching me for a minute, you would know that my position is: don't come here wrongly. Don't come here and end up in the shadow of the system. If you want to come here, if you have to come abroad, it could be the States, it could be the UK, do it properly, because it will work in your favor at the end of the day. But having said that, I've personally witnessed a situation. This was some years ago, more than 10 years ago, where we were in a house party, right? I used to be a Christian then, that's a long time ago, more than 10 years ago. And I used to go to this particular church then. So it was a particular brother's birthday. He turned 40. So he had it was summertime. He had a little garden party in his house. And this woman, this particular lady, beautiful lady, I've known her in the church at the time. Very lovely. She works in the hospitality department. Now, like most parties, house parties, it could be in a hall or bigger venue, women always find themselves wanting to serve the food and handle the food, the meat, the chicken, the rice, and all that stuff. So, anyways, a bunch of them congregated in the kitchen area of that house. Music was going on. We're sat in the garden, the patio door was open, and we were enjoying, the birthday party. Mostly people from the church and family members. Now, what am I trying to say? So something happened. Something happened, amongst the ladies within the kitchen area. Somebody said something. So this particular woman and another woman were exchanging words. Oh, don't speak to me like that. I'm not your mate. I'm older than you. Yada, 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 and all that. Don't disrespect me, blah, 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 blah. So people were trying to calm them down. Like, hey, yo, whoa, whoa, whoa. Take it easy. Slow down. Don't do this. Don't do that. Hey, hey, enough, enough. And then suddenly, from nowhere, this woman turned around and said, if you're not careful, I will call UK immigration tonight, and I will make sure you get removed from the UK before the end of the week. And I remember that day like yesterday. Like everybody was just like, huh? In that moment, we were shocked, we were in horror. Because truth be told, if you go to places like churches and all that, you don't know who is who. You don't know, what anybody's dealing with unless they tell you directly or you hear from conversations. So people can dress up and look gorgeous and all that, but you really don't know if they have papers or not, right? Unless you know them or they share their stories with you. And that woman just put the other woman's business into the public domain. I will call immigration, to remove you in a flash. And I remember the horror. The whole place came to a halt, and some brothers were like, whoa, 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 there's no need for that and all that. Now, that woman was so terrified. She abandoned the kitchen. Minutes later, she picked her bag and she ran. She left the place. In fact, I remember before I left the church, She never showed up to that church again. She ran away. She actually left the shared house she was living then. I think she used to live in Plumstead area of London, and she ran. She ran into hiding, had to go find somewhere else because of the fear that immigration might come knocking. That's one of the stories that stuck with me for years. And I never really liked that other woman, and she was gloating, she was enjoying it. Why? Because she's a British citizen and she believes that she's better than the other person. The reason I'm telling you this story, these very evil, nasty behavioral pattern is absolutely prevalent in our communities. We are always constantly looking for ways to subjugate ourselves. We derive pleasure to see the other person destroyed. We like to do our people like to do their master's work for them. They like to do their master's dirty job. I mean, why should the UK Border Force, UK Immigration Department, why should they worry when we have people within our communities already, doing their jobs for them, simplifying the processes for them? People just take a phone and tell on people. You ring immigration department and you just, oh, such and such lives in such and such address. He hasn't got papers. He works at such and such place. He's using such and such person's ID. Go and get them. Like I said, I'm not here advocating for immigration breach or violations. Definitely not. If you get caught by immigration officers, maybe by they do the stop and search, or they stopped you on a train randomly, and unfortunately you're a victim of circumstance. As devastating as that is, you have to face the music because they're doing their jobs, right? But for you to get out of your way to destroy the life of someone else, and we do this a lot. Oh, it's prevalent. It's a form of subjugation. It's a template of destruction. So note that, right? Now, there's another one, point number 3. That's the workplace. I call it the workplace sabotage. Workplace sabotage. Have you noticed that usually when one of us makes it into an organization here in the West, and then they manage to have an important position, not even necessarily overly important, we don't like to see the other black folks or the other black individual progress or climb to the top. So what they tend to do is they become like self-appointed gatekeepers, and we carry out that is a workplace sabotage fraud where we absolutely self-appoint ourselves. We self-appoint, and we work against the other black person to ensure that they don't enjoy a smooth climb or transition from one position to the other. We will be the ones to be maliciously keeping tabs on their timing, on their performances. So the other black person who is probably at the top or has a position is desperately tap dancing and trying to make sure, as a gatekeeper now, that the other black person doesn't progress. The other communities, other races don't do this. This is very unique to us in terms of behavioral pattern. We don't have, a lot of our people don't have that togetherness type of behavioral pattern to see ourselves win as a unit. We don't. We like to move solo, and solo would never do it. For a race or unit of people that have been subjugated for generations. But we don't like to win together. Black folks never do it. And it's just crazy. That's workplace sabotage fraud. It's absolutely deeply rooted. Etanu ilara. They don't want to see you shine. Even, let me tell you, sometimes in some workplaces, I'm talking about these personal observation from years ago. Sometimes your white managers or your white line managers, male or female, they probably don't even have anything against the other black person, and they just doing their job. Hello Tunde, hello Mike, and they just, as long as you come in, you do your job. It'd be your own brother, it'd be your own sister that would go and establish toxic conversations and do everything within their reach to push you under the negative spotlight to absolutely ensure that you're destroyed. They are happy to see you flushed out. They are happy to see you subjugated. And if we have these type of toxic mindset, how are we expected to be able to deal with the external forces that are working to actually subjugate the African continent? Does that make sense? Now, another point is our refusal to embrace group economics. I've said this before in the past. The way out for the black community or for black folks is group economics. There is power in group economics. If I'm trying to own a business and establish something, or go to the top, maybe start a restaurant or something, right? It's possible for me to set one up. Doing it all by myself, finding the money, saving, approaching the bank, going through all the steps. The journey to the top can take me many years. Sometimes, for a lot of people, it might even become really impossible to get to the top. But if you look at group economics, imagine if I have £10,000 saved or £15,000 saved. If we have 3 other black folks, as 4 of us, £15,000 from 2 people, that's £30,000, right? 4 of us, that's £60,000. If you need a bit of a bank loan to back that up for a particular business and all that, you can have a business plan. It will be a lot easier to get things done, to achieve desired objectives. This is a random, yeah, somebody said, give me a second. Phrankleen, it goes in a different way too. If a black person is on top, fellow black person would do whatever it takes to bring that person down. Very sad indeed. That's exactly the behavioral pattern that I'm talking about. The behavior of destruction amongst ourselves, subjugating, destroying. They like to watch you to be at the bottom of the barrel to ensure that you are clamped to the ground. We don't like to see ourselves win. Eternal jealousy, envy, bad blood. So all these nonsensical trends on social media, go girl, go, yeah, get that bag, secure the bag. It's a lie. It's a big lie. It's all of that nonsense. It's just for social media. All the acrobatics and all that content creation nonsense. Take all that from online. Let's talk about real life. We don't like to see ourselves win. If people see you start winning, start doing well, you've risen above the average level, you're winning, you're getting money legitimately, doors are opening for you. Some people within your community will just find something to discredit you, to sabotage you. Because they will then feel good about their rotten selves to watch you get destroyed, destroy your name, drag your name in the mud, drag you in the sand. We do that all the time. So, as I was saying, refusal to embrace group economics. And the reason is we're driven by jealousy, sabotage, ego, arrogance. We like to move solo to show off. And moving solo sometimes is usually anchored by having limited resources to actually get right to the top. Because when we talk about group economics, we refuse. Everybody knows this. People will tell you crab in a barrel mentality. I get that. But if we all claim to know this, what is it that's blocking us mentally in terms of our acumen? What is stopping us from executing this in huge numbers? Why can't we get monies, get ideas? Because look at other communities. When you talk about the Asian community, I've said this before in the past. It's not because they are superhuman, it's not because they are better than us. There is a strategy. There is that thing is engraved in their DNA. They get money together. They embrace the brotherhood code. If you look at all these Asian, Pakistani community, Bangladeshi communities here in the UK that control the Indian communities, the grocery industry, the food, hospitality businesses and all that, they have a structure, thank you. They work together as a unit. They get money together. They do business together. They get money together. They practice group economics. Within their communities, they have their own accountants. That's why it's very easy for them, like on the Peckham High Street in London, Peckham Rye Lane or whatever, they can easily, you pack out a black business owner, you're struggling to maintain that shop space. As soon as you move out, boom, they take over that shop. You can find 10 meat sellers on one high street, all from the Asian community, and everybody is winning. They open every day 24/7 and everybody is getting monies. You know why? Beneath that, there is a foundation. It's the foundation of togetherness, the foundation of oneness. The brotherhood code is basically, and thank you, they keep money in their communities. Black folks, on the other hand, we're on the at the top of the table of consumption. We don't create, we just consume. We will kill ourselves on the queue into the next Gucci store that has a 40% discount. We would die to enter Selfridges. We would tear each other down for a Black Friday promo. If Tommy Hilfiger's shop in central London has 60% discount, black people would be at the front of the queue. We are consumers on steroids. We don't create. We consume, and we do so aggressively. As soon as our paychecks come into our community, it barely spend minutes, it's out. Our monies end in the confines of the other communities, thereby strengthening them. So the guy with the finance is the strongest guy in the room. If you don't understand, money plays a huge role. They can subjugate you. They can kick you out of a neighborhood. They can come into your neighborhood and buy the properties and tear down the old buildings. We are left with emotional acrobatics. And then we're the ones championing the community meetings and complaining, oh, I grew up in Brixton. Oh, they've taken down all the build. We are at the top of the chain when it comes to consumption. We can't even trust ourselves with £500 worth of little business. And there is that thing about even the ones that try. A black person, a friend, comes up with this brilliant idea and say, hey man, let's join forces, let's get money. So based on your level of investment, so I didn't say, let's say you bring 30% and I own 70%. Because Phrankleen has 70%, you have 30. We have this very toxic mentality, deeply rooted. We like to destroy things. So Dude goes home to tell his mom and dad or families that, oh, I'm doing this cargo business with Phrankleen. Well, I have a 30%, in terms of the dividends that come in. Phrankleen owns 70. The people you're talking to, right? They have judgmental poverty. They don't have a concept for building wealth, generational wealth, right? They are driven by their toxic emotions. Some of them might even be your parents. They will instantaneously, they will begin to inflict your minds with, oh, so wait, so you're going to let Phrankleen control, your life, and basically Phrankleen, so he owns 70%, and then you basically will be a boy to Phrankleen. It's even worse if, let's say, in terms of age difference, the person with the 30% is a bit older than me. They'll put all that into context and say, so he's younger than you and he has more money. They will put toxicity in their minds. And some of these people, because they're not visionaries. A lot of our people are not visionaries. They care about here and now. They don't have vision for the future. They would put energy now into destroying the framework of that business, make sure they sabotage it. They would just abruptly pull out because, my mom said, my uncle, and that's your uncle who has worked as a security guard all of his life. A business-minded person will sit you down and say, dude, maybe find a way to reinvest your dividends, and maybe you can get at least 10% more in that, in that business. Or how do you grow other branches of that business so you can make more money? But they don't have that sort of mindset. They would rather end that business relationship acrimoniously and work to sabotage the union. I've seen this over the years. We're driven by ego, by arrogance, and they would rather go back and make themselves feel good within the confines of their council flat in front of their mom and dad, and do the egotistical tap dancing to their family members and say, well, he thinks I'm a pushover. He thinks this. A beautiful concept that started whilst you were both sat in a local restaurant or in your friend's bedroom. And then you feel, okay, bro, let's put a bit of money. And then you're driven by jealousy now. And then you destroy it. Because why? We are controlled by now. We don't think about the future. And that's a prevalent problem within the Black community. Now, I've talked about, the jealousy, the behavior, behavior of sabotaging ourselves, driven by ego, arrogance, moving solo to show off and all that. Now, point number 5, and that's the the Black snobs and who are tunnel visioned. So what do I mean by that? The Black snobs who are tunnel visioned within the Black community. It's very, very common, and I see them on this channel. The ones that are blinded by the illusion of the life abroad. So what do I mean? The moment some of our people see a bit of money, they have a bit of bank balance. Now, career-wise, or they enjoy a bit of career climb. They enjoy a bit of social climb. Oh, I've done my dentistry exams. I came from Nigeria to the UK. I took my dentistry exams. I'm making X amount of money. I've moved to Kent to buy a 4-bedroom house and all that stuff. I call them Black snobs. Okay, they have these attitude of using their personal achievement. We congratulate you for your spreadsheet being in green color, for your bank balance, for the house that you've bought in Kent or Essex, for the gated community, the fact that you can put your children into so-called private school. You can have lunch as you wish in the most expensive restaurants in central London. Good for you. But they would weaponize their individual achievement against the wider context of the Black community. What they do is they become snobs. They are tap dancers. They are gatekeepers for their oppressors. So they would disconnect themselves from the wider Black community. Some of them, They are the worst people to deal with. If you go to them for help, it doesn't necessarily mean financially, even a piece of information, they would never. They would, it's almost like, no, 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 you're in the mud at the bottom there. You can't roll with us. You know, I live in Kent now, in a gated suburbs. And, oh, do you still live in Peckham with your children? Oh, of course. Meanwhile, they lived in Peckham for about 10 years before they managed to move to Kent, right? These people are the ones that you see that run from pillar to post to say, oh yeah, if I've managed to, I bought a house in Kent, my first property is in Slough, I'm not doing bad, I have a great income monthly. Forgetting the fact that not everybody is a dentist, not everybody will be a solicitor, not everybody within the black community will go to medical school and be able to train as a medical doctor. Not everybody, in terms of how we are wired as humans, we're spiritual beings. Not everybody will come to this planet and be a medical doctor. But because you managed to get on the professional ladder, you're in IT, you're earning as a business analyst, you become an absolute twat. And then these are the snobs that they look down on other people. They think they're better than everybody else, okay? And some of them, they are trapped into the cycle of the illusion of inclusion. I bought 2 houses. I get that. But you got 25 years to still pay for that house. So, you know, if you miss a monthly payment, the true owners of that house will write you a letter in the post. Commercially speaking, you might be able to rent out properties to get some kind of return. It's an investment. Hopefully, if you don't default, whereby in the not so distant future, you might be able to cash out from. I understand how all of that works. But some of them, they are caught up in the illusion of the system that we live in, which is based on credit. You bought a 5-bedroom, newly built house. Good for you. That you were able to save money from your dentistry job or business or partnership or whatever, and you were able to deposit to buy a house in Sussex or whatever. But even that house that you bought in the so-called gated community, you have not finished paying for it. But you think that guy that lives in a council flat or that small family, you're better than them now. And they don't care. They don't care. They would, for the rest of their years, they would tap dance for their oppressors. And, you know, I saw this woman came into my inbox the other day. Thank the universe because I didn't reply the email. She came and said, oh, Phrankleen, you know, some of these things that you're talking about, I came here, I was a dentist in Nigeria. I took my dentistry exams, and I can tell you I'm shining, I'm doing well. I've just bought my second property in the UK. You know, people don't know how, blah, talking like an absolute cunt. And I smiled. I just deleted it and blocked the email address. Because if I really go guns blazing, she wouldn't like it. And this is the very, very toxic mindset. It's a very evil and selfish mindset that a lot of our folks have adopted. And what's even interesting is those people that are now making money, by all means, make money from dentistry, make money from having your own immigration firm, having your own business. For those people, if you go rewind and go and look at them when they were trying to find their feet and all that, they are usually the ones that are very polite. They call you my brother, my sister. They don't mind coming to your house. They don't even mind helping you babysit because they need you to teach them about project management. They need you to help them with passing their dentistry exams. When they want something from you, they are very nice. My sister, don't worry, I'll come to you on Saturday. I'll help you to look after the children because they need your help to pass that professional exam. As soon as they get what they want, the mask comes off. It's a very selfish attitude. When other people who are trying to get on their feet, when they ask you for help, when they try to move up in ranks, you shunt them off, you push them away, you become snobs. Everybody in the black community, this is life. Welcome to real life. Academically, people are not on the same level. Just like these fingers have different heights and different functionality in the context of being part of my hand, right? That's the way life is. Not everybody is academic. Does that make them less of a human? Not everybody is entrepreneurial. That's life. So you might have gone to medical school, but don't weaponize your individual achievements, which we celebrate you for. You may have earned from your blood and sweat, but don't use that to discredit other people, is what we are saying within the Black community. Now, the remedy, on a closing note, I've talked about that in parts, is group economics is the way out for us. It's the way out. I've been saying it. Individually, we can have goals. You can own lands. You can go into land banking. You want to build a house for yourself. You can do that. But how do we help ourselves? How do we begin to repair ourselves within our own communities, right? Earning and building trust amongst ourselves. Justina Rogers, thank you for the super chat. It's the way out. Earning each other's trust, the brotherhood code amongst ourselves. It should be a default setting that we just, we help ourselves. That I don't have to be your friend, before I am pro-black, you dig? But these idea of subjugating ourselves, how do we, if we are not organized internally, if financially as a unit we are nothing to write home about, how do we deal with external forces? Think about that. Do you get my point? Well, the thing about group economics is, we talk about it. You can't force people into group economics. In fact, I love things to happen organically. I'm not a believer in coercing anyone, and no. But we have to talk about it. We know we have an issue of mistrust, distrust, whatever you want to call it. But how long are we going to carry on like this for? We are so disjointed, we're disconnected, self-sabotaging on a daily basis, 24/7. Do you understand? Snitching on each other. This one hasn't got papers. Enslaving yourselves within the Black community. How can you then come together as a people to say, oh, you want to deal with a certain race of people or some elitist at the pinnacle of affairs who are trying to collectively subjugate the Black race? That's the message. That's the message. So I urge you tonight, wherever you are, okay, hopefully we can start to adjust our thought process, right? Wherever you find yourself in your own little unique jurisdictions, we need to change this behavior. These oppressive behavior, attitude of subjugation amongst ourselves. It needs to stop. How can you even be bold to call out other races that are acting oppressively when we are enslaving ourselves? Some of you, even the ones that live in motherland, Africa, in the African continent, they are the worst. You hire children as house helps, even when you hire adults, because of your common cheap labor. You strip people of their dignity. You act with impunity. The hypocrisy in the Black community is staggering. Even in the continent, it's prevalent. Don't get me started about Nigeria, for example. The people that you will find at the forefront of churches, mosques, the religious people, right? That will be telling you about, oh, this and this love, God loves them, God this, God that. When you go into their homes, how do you treat your staffs? It's just slavery. Somebody that's meant to close and go home at 5 o'clock, you make them work till 9 o'clock, no employment rights. Some of them, you use them for sexual gratification. You violate them. If they dare to speak up, you weaponize the police and the soldiers against them. You brutalize them to suppress their voices because you know that they are poor and they can't fight back. There are some of you within the black communities, you have house helps, your children, your young teenagers, or even older children, they are sexually violating those maids. You see it and you cover up. It's a form of slavery. You owe people salaries for 6 months, 7 months. They go home, they commute to work to and fro every day. And you do it on purpose. There was a guy that I was speaking to. He lives here in the UK. He has people working for him in Nigeria. And he was telling me, like, with so much pride that I wouldn't pay them. He was telling me how he replaces staff. He will owe them salary for like 6, 7 months. He will pay them for like 1 or 2 months. When they start complaining, he will clear them out. He will bring in another set of domestic staffs. And I was like, wow. Well, the universe will reward you accordingly. Now, if it was a white man that owns a company and was doing that to a bunch of black folks, we'll be up in arms. We'll be shouting, "Oi, racism. Oh my God, racism all over again." If we are doing this amongst ourselves, how can we even have the audacity to challenge the external forces? It's exactly what I'm saying. Some of you are here tonight, especially those in the motherland Africa. Some of you can't do that nonsense in the West because you know there is what we call instant repercussions. There's justice. You know you're going to end up behind bars. You're going to end up on the sexual register and things like that. You know. Some of you, because you know that a relative back home, their mom and dad are no longer, you lie to them, you misrepresent. I'll bring you to London. I'll bring you to the UK. You come and live with me. I'll send you to school. But you are actually bringing them to come and enslave them so that you force and impose on them to be nannies for your own children, to wipe their bums and wash their plates, and you use them as slaves. You confiscate their passports. You lie to them, fraudulent misrepresentation back home. You tell them you're bringing them over here to work for you. You pay them, blah, blah, blah. It's a lie. You bring them here. You make sure they're living in the basement. You seize the travel documents. You even lock the door. You don't let them go out. Eventually, something happens and the authorities find out, and then some of them get prosecuted. It's a form of subjugation. You are a guy, you know a particular lady within your jurisdiction. Think about it, man. And you know that she hasn't got papers, she's struggling. I have a principle. If you're not going to help someone, let them know off the jump. I'm not obligated to help, but let them know off the jump. From the jump, sorry, and dissociate yourself from their situation, not in a spiteful way. Don't get attached to the emotions around it or anything. Just move away and go on with the rest of your life. But don't suck people in. Don't reel them in. Like maybe they need a bill of £20 or £30 because just to buy food or toiletries and stuff, and then you know that she hasn't got choice, she hasn't got anyone else to turn to. What do? Oh yeah, come see me tomorrow. I'll see what I can do. And all you are plotting is how to weaponize the situation against that woman, take her knickers off, and use her for sexual gratification. I see this all the time. It's a form of subjugation. I don't care who you are, how you feel. You don't like it, go watch something else. Fact. The message is, if we don't hit the reset button, we don't start to tell ourselves the truth, start to undo these evil, toxic behaviors, how can we then have the audacity or be able to fight external forces? That's my message for tonight. Okay, if you haven't, please smash the like button. There's over roughly 300 people watching me. Thank you for your eyeballs and eardrums tonight. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, select the bell button, select the all option so you're notified when I'm online. If you haven't, follow me on Instagram at Phrankleen, as it's spelled on my channel here. And one more time, if you're interested in Ifa divination, Akosajaye checks, relationship compatibility checks and all that, bang me an email. I have legitimate Ifa priests that I work with in the background. Send me an email to foodchannel1960@gmail.com. My email address is at the bottom. I'm working on a website for the Ifa divination, and if you when that goes live very soon, I'll let you know. Okay, thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. I hope at least one person gets emancipated from this. If you have, and I would have done an amazing job. And hi, Rita. How you doing, Rita? Thank you, everybody else. I appreciate you once again. My name is Phrankleen. Are the Ifa priests verified? Yes, they are genuine Ifa priests, okay? They are true Babalawos. So, thank you, Avery. What's up, everybody? Thank you to everybody, and I will catch you in the very next one. Peace and love, man. Bye-bye now. Check your email, Phrankleen. I will. Mwana, I will. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you